So here you are at the 2:30 session. Yeah, I saw that. All right. Yeah, this is probably in more great news of all the sessions I'm doing. This one probably, I don't want to say has the most academic bent to it, but there's some stuff in here. But we're going to make it as fun as we possibly can. Because if they love it, they'll learn it, right? Yeah. If they dread it, they'll throw it in the trash. So, let's take a poll. How many of you work primarily with children's choirs? Okay. Does anybody work with an adult choir? Okay. Is anybody singing with an adult choir? Okay, great. So this will have broad applications, which is great. So a lot of these things, I don't want to say that children don't have flatting problems, but oftentimes with intonation, flatting is not really sharp more, right? But this workshop is kind of, it takes us kind of the philosophy of if they'll love it, they'll learn it. And remember when I was talking about say what you mean without saying it mean? And so this is kind of a workshop that's based on that sort of mindset of, okay, so, and I'm a chronic flatter. I have been all my life. I think that I am a very poorly tempered instrument. And so you know how the best coaches in baseball aren't the ones who are the best players? It's always the backup catcher that was always kind of between the big show and AA, but they know how to get every ounce out of that, whatever they've got. Okay, so that I'm telling me with this, like I was singing, I just had intonation issues, and it really hurt my feelings when people would just look at me and say, "You're flat," or the dreaded neighbor next to you doing this. It's the most insulting thing ever. Just hurts people's feelings. So stop it. So one of the other things too is in a lot of the other workshops there are things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can use that right away, right? That's something you can take and boom, you can use it on Sunday. A lot of this is going to be processed a week because it's different than just your little quick fixes. These are things that you start putting into place. And just little by little, keep touching at them because we're going to approach it from all different sides, and you can't do it all in one rehearsal, or 2, or 3, or 4. It's just a process, and it's just a lifelong thing of kind of recognizing what the real culprits are. How many of you are ever read? I'm a huge fan of all these kind of faux sociology books, like the Malcolm Gladwell books, like Tipping Point, Blink, Freakonomics. And what they do is that they're really good at showing how the way you're seeing what is, and whatever is closest to it, you're blaming that on why things are the way they are. And oftentimes the root cause is something deeper. And so this kind of goes to that. So saying you're flat, that doesn't ever really help, does it? I mean, you're flat. Okay, great. Tell a baseball player, you missed the ball. I know, and I don't want to miss the ball. I want to hit the ball and not have to walk back into the dugout and do that walk of shame after strike 3 again. But it doesn't really seem to get any results. It's just they continue to sing flat, and now they're slightly demoralized. Big steps up, little steps down. That one's a tricky one too. I know that's one of those little bumper stickerisms. We say big steps up, little steps down, and that's kind of it's hard because I think not only with kids, but with people in general, up and down can be very abstract when it comes to singing. Like, what does that mean? What does up mean when you talk to a kid and tell them, sing up, sing higher? I mean, that's really tricky. And it's very focused on the relationships between the steps, right? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And just raise your eyebrows. Okay, everybody raise your eyebrows. That's great, unless you're singing the Lacrimos. I mean, then it's just creepy, right? It's kind of a Chucky. It's just, having a relaxed face is good. You need to be able to have your face be part of the storyteller in that song. And if it's just one of those artificial things. It's never a long-term solution. It creates a lot of facial tension, and tension is something you don't want. And then here's the bottom line. If it were all hearing, and granted there is some oral stuff there, but if it was all a matter of just hearing it incorrectly, wouldn't people be going sharp like half the time, just the law of averages? But with their intonation, isn't like 95% of the time they go flat? I mean, so most volunteer choirs, I mean, you can start you picked out your a cappella piece for the semester, and like within the first 8 measures, it's already shifted down about a quarter of a tone, and you're like, all right. So clearly, it's not because they just don't hear it correctly. There are a few cases of that, but usually there's a lot of other stuff going on. So let's look at some of the things that are going on and see where some of the other culprits are. And let's start with vowels. So one of the first things I look at with a choir when there's an intonation is I'll just look at their mouths. Use your eyes. Don't we rely solely on our ears, but look at what are their mouths telling you. So let's try an experiment. Let everybody stand up. All right. So primarily we've got I would say treble voices in here. So let's have the lowest pitch sing. Go ahead and sing. And the middle pitch for those of you who are more right in the middle of the note. Okay, now off everybody go. Woo! Woo! That kind of placement. Let everybody sing that pitch wherever you are. Ready? And. Yeah, so, all right, let's try it again. Ready? And. Sing up more. Yeah, okay, so first of all, you are in the judgment-free zone. You are in a sanctuary, you are in a safe place. No one is going to judge you or your voice. Okay, you are singing, God is happy, that's what matters, right? Okay? So don't worry, I'll play the notes. Oh, someone's going to hear me. No, of course they're going to hear you. You're supposed to hear you. You're singers. All right. So you get ready? And. Okay, now this pitch I want you to sing la, lu, and li, almost a li, right? And sing. Sounds out, doesn't it? Does it sound weird? It doesn't sound in. Now that's an extreme example. Sing it again. Ready? And. Okay, now let's modify the top pitch. Sing it more like a lu, but not quite at lu yet. So we got la, lu, and lu. Ready? And. Okay. Yeah. Now sing it more like the lu in roof. If you say roof, I say roof. You say roof? Yeah. We have to say roof? Yeah, that's weird. All right. Ready? Sing it. Ready? And. Not la. I'm trying to get a little. Yeah. So it's the chord. The notes are right, but it still sounds out. Everybody go, woo! Woo! Now sing it with that pitch, all unified pitch, all that pitch, unified vowel. Ready? And. But now you're all real soft again. Ready? Sing it. And. Round the lips more. There! Ah, did you hear that? Did you hear it kind of go, whoosh? When you've been swimming and that last little bit of water comes out? Yeah, that's it. That's it. So vowels are really important. The thing, you can take a choir and you can, make them sound like world beaters, and you can make it sound like there's about 20 more in the group just by having them all unified on the vowel. Because so much of the time, the pitches are good, and you can drill. No, I'm singing that. No, they're singing that pitch. They're just not singing the same vowels as everybody else. And sometimes it's within a section. You've got, and lu I chose because there's a lot of different interpretations of lu, depending on what part of Texas you're from alone. Lu, right? That's the big one, the big umlaut. Lu. Why does it that Texas and Germany have that in common? But yeah, if you watch the vowel. All right, have a seat. Yeah, so just be aware of that. Keep an eye on it. The one you can see is the front, right? You can see the mouth position in the front. What's harder to see but easier to hear is what's going on in the back of the mouth. And there's a lot of debate on what works the best. I still really like the quality sound when you've got a little bit of yawn in the back. And that's a real easy thing to induce at 2:30. Right? Sorry, that's not fair. I'm just kind of messing with you now. All right. Stay with you. All right, but when you yawn, it creates that sensation of awe. Where the sanctuary, well, where I work, is we used to call it the place where good sound goes to die. Because it was not, it's not a good shape. And so what I would ask the kids, I'm like, all right, so do you want to sound like you're singing into your living room or in the Sistine Chapel? They know what, so how can you affect your own architecture on the inside of your face so that you, regardless of where you are, on the inside is this beautiful cathedral. So that nice yawning quality, almost like you're trying to swallow an egg whole. So, yeah, let me write this down. So one of the things, and an ooh vowel is one of the worst of it, because oftentimes, this happens actually more with adult choirs than with kids, is they'll sing a nice round ooh in the front, and it's also a real tight ooh in the back, and so it's real constricted. Everybody go ooh like a straw. Ooh. Now think of it like an inverted megaphone, where you've got the back and go ooh. Ooh. Right, it's a rounder sound, it's a warmer sound, it's more open. Well, I tell the kids, get out of your own way. You got a gorgeous voice. Get out of your way and let it out. And so regardless of what the vowel is in the front, if you have a lot of good open space in the back, it'll be warm, it'll be more resonant. And what kids like to do so much is they want to sound bigger and older than they are. And that's, and we've got a lot of models of belting. And that's what, great, and that's awesome, but I want the kids to be able to sing into their 30s and not, be coughing up blood. So one of the things to do is help them get out of their way so that they can have a more full body sound where all they're doing is opening up their mouth and back. They can do that all day without wearing out. And that also helps intonation. It's one of the great things because when you've got it kind of that soft palate is flat and saggy and flappy in the back, it's going to pull things down. Once again, this is not necessarily something you're going to have to worry too much about with children's choirs. I mean, sharpening is usually going to be there because they're going to be so geeked. They just come with an adrenaline drip. But with your older folks and your adult choirs. And then some other things you want to look at in the front is singing into the chin or the jaw, right? Does anybody here work with youth choirs at all? Or does anybody here work with 5th or 6th graders? Yeah, okay, watch those boys. That's where, they're going to really start to strain. Watch where that chin starts to come out. So one of the things I say, and we'll talk about posture in a second, but relax and keeping that jaw, well, almost where you can sing while moving your jaw around. If you've got to set the jaw to sing into it, that creates a lot of tension and it's going to drive the pitch. Sometimes I actually drive it up. So singing towards the teeth, singing more towards the teeth, that focuses it. That also keeps the sound from being dull. So it's another way to give body and energy and volume to the sound without them having to do anything with where they're placing the sound. And then balancing the vowel. This is a big one, and this one's a big one for like adult choirs and something you work with the adults as well. So brighten the vowel on the lower pitches. Back when Harry Potter was a big deal, I still love Harry Potter, but I know we're kind of getting, we're almost a generation removed from it. But I'm sorry, as the day wears on, I lose all my low notes. I also lose my high notes and my middle notes. But what the tendency is when you're going lower, especially the guys, they want to make it sound darker, and so yo. And what happens is they make the vowel sound darker, is you lose the sound. You lose the timbre, and you can't hear them with all the other parts above them. So as they're singing lower, as the pitch, quote unquote, gets darker, we don't really call the pitch darker, as it gets lower, you want the vowel to get brighter. And I told him, like Severus Snape, like when he kind of has that sneer, have a little snapey sneer. So it's yaw. But like I told you, I have no low right now. Then that puts the sound, it makes it brighter. So as you go lower, make the sound brighter so that it balances out. Because a low pitch with a real dark vowel, it's going to get lost. The flip side is also true, and that really more pertains to us. As the pitch goes up, especially around an E flat or E, if the pitch is up, the word peace, let's see. Let's see, what's that? Sleep in heaven. Okay. Sleep in heavenly peace. Right? So what you have to do is you have to darken the vowel. And I won't tell the children this, but I'll tell you, you sing a word where instead of peace, it's an IH sound, which sounds like another word. I'm not going to say it out loud. I think you know what I'm saying. All right? yourself more space. Make that vowel a little more round so that it's not a bright vowel on a bright pitch. Otherwise, it's the last thing it is heavenly peace, right? It's just it's something that can feel pain. And that also helps to balance the pitch, because it's really about fixed and flats and about intonation. That, once again, that really bright vowel up there or that really woofy vowel down there is going to make it sound like it's out of tune even when it's not, because things just aren't going to be jiving. Okay, well, we're, in choral music we spend so much time with the vowels that we ignore the poor consonants. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. But those consonants are really important. And I think if we treat the consonants in vocal music like the enemy, like they're the things that are breaking up the vowels, that's where we lose a lot of it. Especially with the voiced consonants. The voiced consonants are the ones that have pitch. Do that. Those feel good. Don't they feel good? Right? It feels good to sing them. But what happens if you're kind of phobic of the consonants and you're constantly getting off of the consonants and getting in the vowels, you're going to break all that great momentum. You sing through the consonants. The consonants can actually connect the vowels. Like just singing something where you connect the consonant, or connecting a consonant, using the consonant, especially the voiced consonant, to connect to the next vowel. Can be really helpful. It's a great way to keep the momentum going. It's a great way to keep the line going, because if you treat the consonant like something that breaks up the vowel, then it's going to go, and it's microscopic, right? If you do it 2 or 3 times, you don't notice it, but then 8 measures in, okay, it's a tiny little microtone. Then 16 measures, next thing you know, you're a half step flat, right? And then you're starting to do some of the other gimmicks to get the pitch up. So don't avoid the consonants. Do some good consonant work. Have the kids sing just on the consonants. It's fun. Do the bumblebee exercise. I'm going to release a bumblebee into the room. I'll have an EpiPen in case we need it. All right. So here we go. So just, do the exercises on the consonants. They're fun, they're easy. Did I have bubbles on here somewhere? I don't have bubbles on here, do I? Do I have bubbles on here anywhere? We're going to do bubbles. All right, it's 2 pages. The chances of me not having something on there are pretty great. All right, bubbling is one of the best ways to get, it does a lot of things. Everybody go, right? First of all, whenever Sunday morning, as I say, comes right after Saturday night, it's just the worst timing ever. And whenever I had the youth choir come in, I say, all right, I need you to be in the process of getting warm before you get here, because we sing real soon after you get here. So warm up on the way. And the last thing they want to do is look dumb, right? That's they don't want to be in their car going, so just simple, there's those bubble exercises. It gets the voice warmer. Everybody bubble a little bit more. Good, yeah, it feels good. There's a lot of things going on there. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies. Let's just sing it. Let's do it on a bubble. Ready, and. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on there. One of the things that's going on, besides your nose itching, did your nose itch a little bit? Let's do it again. Your nose isn't itching. That doesn't count. Ready, you go. Yeah, there's nerves that are connected. If you've ever gone to the dentist and they're digging around in your teeth, all of a sudden you have to scratch your nose. That's why it's activating those nerves. That's not the point of it. But what it does is it gets that air flowing forward, which is great for momentum, like a lot of those voiced consonants, like zzz, it gets it moving forward. It's a really good exercise for placement of the sound. Remember I was talking about the teeth? And you're also getting the sound here. So what we're going to do is let's just sing for the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies. Ready? And.
For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies.
Which is beautiful. You have beautiful voices. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It was great. All right. Now let's bubble it. Ready? Go. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call out words, and wherever you are, and so if it's wherever you are, but here's the deal. Say, what's the deal, Mr. Mark?
What's the deal, Mr. Mark?
Wherever you got to chase that bubble, so you can't go. You can't govern it. Okay? You are in the safe zone. All right? So whenever you hear me call out text, switch from bubble to words. Ready? And words. Yeah. Did you notice that it was brighter and it was richer? And that a lot has to do with placement of the sound. A lot of things going on there. You're placing the sound forward. It's also activated. I love the adult choir. The kids love it. The adult choirs hate it. To bubble an entire anthem because they're like, oh, why are you doing this to us? We had a hard day. And you know, the kids have the other end of the spectrum. They're like, this is so much fun. This is so weird. But it's great because it really gets the sound forward. The other thing is it engages all the breathing, which is so important. We'll talk about this in a second. But it's real honest because if you're going, you know, you'll start to stall out like a car that's out of gas. So it helps you ration the breath a little bit and not blow out all the air at once, which sometimes happens with kids where they'll want to waste all the air. It helps them measure that phrase so they've got enough to get to the end of it and still have some power. Okay, skipping on to rhythmic intensity. Let's talk a little bit. Yes, ma'am?
I have some kids who say they can't bubble. I mean, they're bubble challenged.
Yeah, so give them training wheels. I have the same thing. I need you to just make them mush their face. 90% of the time that does it. But yeah, I have some that they can't do it, but I do that and it works. Yeah. Try it. If it doesn't, give me a call. All right. You're such a cute face. All right, so rhythmic intensity. And here, let's start with momentum. And momentum is not about fast or slow. One of the tricks, which is not a long-term solution, is we need to speed this piece up. We need to take this piece. Did anybody in your choir ever ask you that? We need to take this piece faster. It's just dragging. That's fine if what has happened is you've taken the completely wrong tempo and you're just conducting it too slow. But if the piece indicates adagio or largo or the quarter note equals 60 or something like that, that's what the composer wants. So ideally, what you need to be able to do is sing with for momentum. Tempo should not be the culprit. They should be distinct from one another. Yes, you can speed the piece up and get an artificial goose, but that's not true to the piece of music. And what if you're singing something for Lent and it doesn't need to be at a snappy tempo? That's out of character. So momentum is about direction and it's about intent. It's not about fast or slow. So let's talk about some concrete things that we can keep an eye on to help us with that. Tell me if you've had this problem ever with choirs, that they treat whole notes, half notes, and dotted half notes as just these ambiguous. Quarter note we got, right? Because quarter equals one beat most of the time. Eighth notes are the fast ones. But a whole note, we're just going to hold it for a while, and it's kind of optional, right? We'll hold it. And so cutoffs are real sloppy at the ends of pieces, or you got a whole note or half note in the middle of the piece, and they're carrying it way too long. So what we got to remember to do is that those aren't notes to be held. Hold the whole holding. I don't like that word because it says stagnant, right? It says we're not going anywhere with this. It says let's hold this note, okay? What happens when you hold something for a long period of time? It just starts to get heavy and you start to sag and you want to get rid of it as fast as possible. So move through those whole notes. Move through and count through those note values as well. Don't treat it as an ambiguous note value. Be thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. Be counting through that and sing through it. Don't hold it. Move through it. Sing on the balls of your feet. That's not really a posture thing. I'm using that figuratively, not literally. So if you're singing at the back part of and there's certain styles of music where you really want to kind of be on the back part of the beat, where you want to just kind of be relaxed and cool. But most of the music, that's typically not the problem on Sunday morning, right? People are just so awake and attentive. It's like the opposite, right? So what you kind of sing on the balls, and maybe that'll help to have just like, and we'll talk about posture in a second, but just have them bounce a little bit and then back, but then singing with that so that they're anticipating that they're moving forward and not like they're having to be mushed. Here is a big one, and I can't say enough about this one. It's incredibly empowering. It's a little humbling for a choir director, and that is to practice having the choir sing without you conducting them. They don't need you. And I tell this to the kids all the time. I am the least important person in this process. We gotta have a composer, because we need someone to create the music that we're gonna do. We gotta have a keyboard player, and goodness knows it ain't gonna be me, because these things do not work, okay? They're no good. I can flip a burger, that's about it. We need you to sing. You're very important. We need your voices to make that choir. And we need listeners. We need people to listen so that there is a true, complete musical experience. If somebody is going to not be there, someone has to call in sick, and everything else can go pretty much without a hitch, it's me. Now, I'm real important, and we're great in the rehearsals. It's just like being a coach for a football team. Landry didn't go out there and play quarterback, right? Landry could be laid up, and Cowboys could still win the game. Good times. So that's a callback, isn't it? So having them do that, it empowers them so much. Because what do? We spoon feed them. And if you give them every little thing, you're not expecting them to be a partner in this. And that's where so much of the empowerment comes. I'm actually having that struggle right now. As I said, I'm the children's minister. I'm not the children's choir director. I'm the children's minister. And what we do is I write all the curriculum for the whole semester. So I spend weeks and weeks writing the curriculum. And we have classes like Mad Scientist is one of our classes where they use science experiments to help them, solidify Bible stories and Bible concepts. So if it's the Mentos and Diet Coke experiment, which they do outside, I get all the materials, I put it in a plastic bin, so there's the Diet Coke, there's a little tube, there's the Mentos, there's the drape cloth, and ready to go. So it is all set. And what is happening is our volunteer teachers are reading the curriculum less and less. And so they're very flat, they come in flat-footed on Sunday. Why? Because we've given them way too much. And so there's little expected of them. So we're kind of trying to figure out how to dial that back a little bit. It's the same way with the musicians. They've got to feel like they're equal partners in this. And what you'll find is, once you get out of the way, and it's what you do is you get them all stand in a circle, so they can see each other, so they can connect. And it's, with the youth choir, they kind of flirt a little bit. And sometimes with the adult choirs, they do that, which stop it. And the kids are fine, and they sing and they work, and it's great, and they're working together. And when do we know to come in? Well, you got to solve that. That's on you. I'm just going to here to listen. So some student conductor will take it upon themselves to go and get the thing started, and then they'll go and they'll start to watch each other. And as I said in one of the earlier sessions, that's when so much of the great worship happens, right? Because don't we often have the show? It's the God show where the guy comes up and gives the God speech, and everybody listens, and we all sing our God songs, and the audience is there to approve tip us with the plate when it comes around. So much of the great worship experiences, well, that's how I need to use finger quotes for that. That's how a lot of people approach it. But when we connect with the people this way, it really enriches that's why congregational singing can be so powerful if done right. Anytime you can get the folks in the ensemble you're working with to do this rather than this, it's so valuable. So practice that. What they'll find, the momentum will get better. And then, when you get up there to conduct, you are free because you're not having to beat a pattern. Watch me. All you got to do is this. And they're with you because they can do it on their own. Then you can give a little, and then the next thing you do is you put your right hand in your pocket. If it's a piece with keyboard accompaniment, they've got the tempo. They've got the tempo, then you can just show, I'm just going to show phrasing on my left hand. You watch the phrase. And man, they can do those phrases on a dime. And it's so empowering, it's fun. And then they're like, we're good, we didn't even need you. It's great. And you pretend to be all hurt by it. And a couple of things. Some of these are a little bit more for like advanced choirs. But one of the things, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Let's say one of my favorite masterworks is Handel's Messiah. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. And what happens, and the government shall be upon it, and they triplify it, they swing it, baby. And what happens is that little drag on the rhythm is something that tends to bring the pitch flat a little bit, because it's another thing that talks about the rhythm. And swinging is so different than a strict dotted rhythm, and here's why. And this is something that's really hard because kids, youth, grown-ups, it's hard to get your eye to see that, to not see that as a grouping. Da, da. Well, there's a bar there that connect. Those belong to each other. But really, in the music, this belongs to the next one. It doesn't make sense when you see it. It's really hard to teach, but the ga, ta-ta, kaboom, ta-da. It's that, right? So when you have a really tight 16th note that's not da-da, 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 that doesn't belong. It's amorphous. Ta-ta, ta-ta, because that one is going to the next one, and that one is going to the next one. So there's a constant forward momentum, which is great. It really helps alleviate intonation. And all you have to do is say that 16th note belongs to the next thing. Da-da, da-da. Instead of your flat bass is your flat again, which we all want to say it, and there's a part of us that feels really cathartic to get it out of our system, and then you've hurt their feelings. They're going to be less likely to sing out. Now they're really going to do that thing where they're late because they're only going to listen to the one guy in the section who can sing on pitch, and then get in behind them, and then balance. And this, I don't mean balance in terms of volume, or what I really mean is just in life. It's all about balance. We're going to get very Yoda here for a second. But just balance is important. So as you're singing a busy piece, feel the bigger waves in there. So the if you're singing that, if you're feeling each one of those, you're going to bring the piece to a grinding halt. Feel those bigger beats, and conversely, when you're doing a piece that, Ave, Ave, it's kind of the image of the swan, right? On the surface, it's gliding, and those feet are paddling like crazy. So when you're singing those longer phrases with the bigger beats, move it underneath, feel it. So you're always in opposite. There's always that sense of motion. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Cool. All right. Volume. Singing louder or softer than appropriate can drive the pitch, especially when excessive pressure is placed on the throat towards the center. When you look for your overachievers. This is one where you're going to have sharping. Those that they really want to show you how good they are. Their posture is so good. Their shoulders are up to their ears. Their posture is so good. Look at me. And so relax. And of course, see, there's the danger too with if you say you're flat. The overachievers are the ones who are going to hear that, right? So who's going to really push the pitch up? Though the flat ones are still going to sing flat, and now the ones who are sharp are going to sing really sharp. Oh, I thought it was bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. So just be careful with the pressure, and sing. And what I always say is sing softly enough to hear other parts, sing out enough for other parts to hear you. And that's a real important thing. And that's the same way with whenever I work with a drum circle or whatever. You want to be a part of the group and represent your portion, and people need to hear you. That's important. You're important, but make sure that you can sing at a level where you can hear the other parts. And then balance. And this is the part that has to do with volume. And this is exactly like the vowels. If you have a choir that's singing everything spot on, but the volume is out of whack, it's going to sound out of tune even when it's not. Let's stand up again. Hi. So let's have a y'all. I like that inversion for some reason. It allows for a real bright chord because it puts the third on top. Let's all sing wherever, if you're the low, the middle, or the high. Next low, sort of low. Right? And right. Now, everybody say, y'all! I'm going to take this just working with the volume, because if the vowels aren't in alignment, then we're going to have vowel issues as well. Alright, so let's try that again. Yaw, and make sure you're all singing a good yaw, maybe a little bit of tooth here in the front. Ready? And okay, about balance? You tell me. Was it in balance? Could something have been tweaked more? Was something be tweaked a little bit less? What do you think? You tell me. You're great at this.
More middle.
More middle? That happens a lot, right? That if you've got the outer voices often the easiest to hear, and then the middle, the glue, if you don't have it, it's not going to lock in. So try that again with that in mind. Ready? And. Everybody go, yeah! Yeah! Now let's try it again. A little less top. Ready? And. Keep singing. Good. Okay, I'm going to practice what I preach. Let's stand in a circle. This isn't about me. Let's not make this about me. Now come on this side. Okay, I'm not going to spoon feed you in there from the piano. So let's start with the lowest pitch first. Y'all, wherever that is. Right? Ready? Those of you singing that pitch. Ready? Sing.
Yeah.
And the next pitch. Highest pitch. Okay, so that worked on a number of levels. But one is getting it, that I can't stress that, it's not about me. Okay, let me be here, just so I can, once again, in the middle there. But you started to sing to each other, and that improved everything. You're not only did the balance of the volume get better, but the tone improved. Everything about that was better. Do that. So let's try that again, and let's mess with it a little bit. So let's have that middle part be really soft, and the higher part be loud, and the lower part be right where you were. Sing the pitch. Everybody come in together. Ready? And. Okay, keep singing. Now adjust the volume so you're all lined in volume-wise. Woo! Do you hear it? Am I just making it up? Can you hear it? Or are you just going, we want to hear it? Let's try it again. Do the same thing. It's terribly exciting for me because it's just neat. But I don't want it to be like one of those magic eye things where you're like, yeah, I see the T-Rex, and you don't really see the T-Rex. All right? So let's sing the chord again and do the wonky version. So very little middle and way too much top, which is very typical of a church choir. Right? Lots of soprano and altos kind of lost somewhere there on D. All right, ready? And. So nine, keep singing at that same volume. It's nice, and you can hear the chord, right? Now, balance the volume. You do it. Yeah, I can see more heads nodding this time. It's a huge difference. It sounds like it's more in tune, and it sounds like there's more of you in the room, although technically I think probably in general the volume actually pulled back a little bit. But when the top part pulled back, but the whole chord lined up. And that was simply by balancing the volume. So imagine how many times you're in rehearsal, let's say you're doing some kind of like aardvarks on the arc, the two-part thing. And one part is really overpowering the other part, and you spend all the time trying to tune the chord so it really lines up as pretty, when really what you need to do is say, okay, a little bit less, a little bit more, balance, or have the part one stand over here, part two stand over here, and sing to each other. Then you really hear it. Okay, back to your spot. Yeah, that's neat. Look at this laboratory. It's fun. So let's talk about the piano. I have a love-hate relationship with pianos. Goes back to taking piano lessons, I suppose. But one of the things that we want to get away from, and one of the reasons I wanted you to sing the chord here and start with the lowest pitch and then add, this is a well-tempered instrument. Okay, which is great. The flip side to that is it's locked in. Has anyone ever worked with a barbershop group or Sweet Adelines? Have you ever been to a rehearsal? I got to go to a rehearsal one time, and this was just such a mind-bending experience because they sing so in tune it almost makes your teeth hurt, right? I mean, you can hear four people, and they are singing so in tune, it's just like whammo. And what they'll do is just play a note, and then they'll tune, it's painstaking to listen to them work a whole piece. It'll take them maybe the whole 2-hour rehearsal to chord by chord work through an entire piece of music so that each chord is perfectly tuned. And oftentimes, the rehearsal, the gals have like a little Casio tone. Remember Casio tones? And you have to play a little bossa nova beat. And just play a note and then start there. So one of the best things to do to kind of get away from it, so if I've gone, all right, everybody sing this chord, and you get the chord, and it will only be as good as it will be, as in tune as the piano will be. But what if, do we have enough in here for 4 parts?
Sure.
We might. All right, so just the basses, we're going to have you on. Okay, go with some basses, whoever you are. Altos, sing the octave above. Tenors, you're the 5th. Sopranos, the 3rd. Ready? Sing that chord, ready? And that's pretty nice. And here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to play the bass note, and here's why. That's all you need. Everything else is a harmonic above that, all right? So let's tune it just based on that one note. So basses, keep singing. And sing out, sing out, sing out. Altos, the octave above. And keep singing. More space in the back. Now, before I add another pitch, I'm going to wait to make sure that octave is locked in. When it's locked in, it should have a kind of a ringy quality. Good octaves, 4ths, and 5ths, when they're really tight and locked in, you almost hear the 3rd because they're so bright. Adding the 3rd just seems extravagant at that point. So, tenors on the, and then lightly the sopranos on the 3rd. Let's try that. Woo! Right, all right. Now, once again, don't be bashful. I think sopranos, you don't want to pound the 3rd. So in your zeal to not pound the 3rd, you're pulling back too much energy from it. Don't worry, you're doing just fine. Come on in, and then we'll adjust. Okay, start with the basses again. Ready? And altos up the octave. Tenors. Nice. That's nice. Now I have the 3rd. Sopranos, keep that volume. The rest of us will grow up to you. Yeah, that's a really good way to tune a piece or to work on a piece. And it's also a really good way. Once again, this is not so much children's choir right here as youth choir, adult choir. Because I know we can be a little apprehensive about doing an a cappella piece. We recognize the challenge. We recognize that when we do it and do it well, the self-esteem, it's great. It's a good confidence boost. Plus, it sounds really pretty. But we all know that, for most of us, those choirs, those volunteers that we love, we're with them on Sunday morning, and man, they're groggy and they're tired and they're pounding the coffee to be ready. So anything that you can do to help set them up for success, exercises like this are great. It proves to them that yes, you can indeed sing in tune. So some ways that you can do some a cappella singing: set workable goals. Don't start out and say, okay, we're going to do the entire Tallis, If You Love Me, a cappella, which is really hard because it's in F. And we'll get to some of that in a second. And it's just, it's about at the halfway point of that piece. I love it. I love and hate that piece so much. It's just gorgeous. It melts my heart. And the number of times I've worked with a choir where I think we've nailed it, it's tough. It really is tough. Some things are in the cracks, and there's a lot, but just do 4 measures. And just say, we're going to do 4 measures. We're going to do these 4 measures. If you love me, keep my commandments. And that's it. And feel the sense of accomplishment of making it 4 measures with all of those things that you've worked on to that point. And then go back another time. Okay, and they're going to want to go on. Great. Tell them no. All right, so give them something to work to, and they'll be excited the next time they come back to it. It's a challenge accepted, right? Instead of something that's it's the same thing with adults. Make it a game, and you can, and a cappella pieces with kids, it's the exact same way. Give them workable goals so that you're always building on success instead of trying to undo past failures, right? And leaning too much on the piano really weakens pitch independence, but it also weakens rhythmic independence. How many of you have had a situation where you've got your children's choir in their safe little environment, in the children's choir rehearsal space with, the little Kerwin hand signs and the little wall with the stickers on it, and they're all great, and they've been doing it with piano, and it's wonderful. Then you go in the sanctuary to do it with organ, and they drag. And this happens with choirs of all ages. Well, it's because they've been spending their whole time having a percussion instrument mush them forward. Even on a piece that isn't unaccompanied, even on a piece that has a written out accompaniment, work with them a little bit on unaccompanied singing, so that when they come together, it's truly ensemble. It's not the choir is the bicycle and the piano is the training wheels, right? And the other thing is that that's an incredibly, it's a great freeing moment for your accompanist, who now gets to be a keyboardist and gets to be part of this collaborative music experience instead of the person who's playing the notes, right? And it strengthens the entire experience for everybody. The kids feel better because they feel more independent, and it just makes, and you feel better because you're not so worried about it. So work on that. Work on them singing without the piano at all, even if it's a piece that has a piano part, just to get them used to it. Child of the Universe, how many of you were in the reading session where we did that? That's a great piece. At the refrain, where it's just that simple, beautiful two-part, just sing that part unaccompanied, and they love it, and they sound great doing it. Okay, harmonies. We're not going to spend too much time on harmonies, but this is often where some of the stuff with intonation goes awry, and it's often we get false results. Like, we blame the thing that we hear most readily, but that's not always what's causing it. So understanding where the root is can be really important, and where your note is in relationship to the root. That's a tricky concept with kids, but as you get older, like when I was able to say, oh, the third. Well, okay, you're music people. You know where that third is. But work with your choirs on that so they get to know what that means. So that, okay, it's in a major, what you want to tell them, if the piece is in a major key and you're singing the third, they're going to get to know, oh, I have a responsibility to make sure that third isn't in the cracks there, which is one of the things that really can drag it down. But they don't know that until they know they can hear themselves in relationship to that other note. So working on that is important. We just practice the octaves, fourths and fifths, those intervals, those perfect intervals being locking. And like some of that shape note music, a lot of times the third is not in it. It's a lot of open fifths, and man, done well, it's really, really powerful. It sounds great. Knowing where the tendency tones are. And how they need to approach those. Oh, we've all been there, right? And then making sure that T is high. That T is practically there. It's just it wants to be there. This is where it wants to go. And kids can get that. Where does this note want to go? So have it kind of. And it's not doesn't mean to say you want them to sing that sharp, but you want them to be aware that that helps with the momentum. It helps with the intonation. And when you're working on pitches, don't ignore the sopranos and basses. And this is, once again, for four-part music. But that's so often the case. We ignore the sopranos altogether because they got the melody, right? So we're like, oh, okay, this blessed assurance, you got this. Basses, you just got 1, 4, 5. You got that. Sometimes a 2. So they've got this. And we spend all of our time working on those weird alto and tenor parts where it's the filler notes, right? They're just, we've all seen those alto notes where you can just tell. It's just whatever notes left in the chord, altos, you got it. Or worse, if it's a piece where it's just, you're just singing the drone tone there. So kind of an odd and end related to that, and this I have been so guilty of this, and it just, I feel like with all this I need to have the scarlet letter H for hypocrite, because everything I'm telling you, I've made this mistake 1,000 times, and I keep making it, so it's not like I learn from my own mistakes, but maybe you can. But if the altos, tenors, and basses all sound flat, maybe, just maybe, yeah, and that often, in fact, that is often the case. I had one year where we were doing the Impargisum, and boy, those sopranos were so eager, overachievers. I mean, they were, had 2 of them that were about to go to do pre-med, and man, they were going to show me how on top of it were, and they were on top of it, way on top of it. So just be aware of that. That's one of those things, you have your ears open, and that also happens in 2-part music with kids. Where the part 2 will often sound flat, Maybe the kids singing the melody are just so geeked, but we dismiss the melody, and it's just one of those things we do almost without thinking. It's like, oh, that's the melody. I hear the melody. It sounds right. It must be the other thing that's wrong. That's not always the case. So some things about posture and how much sitting do you do in rehearsal. I try not to sitting. Of course, here I am being a hypocrite. You sat for most of this. But see, how are you sitting? Are they sitting with their back? If your back is touching the chair, you're sitting too far back, right? Standing a little bit, doing lots of exercises. We did some of those, and if they love it, they'll learn it. Some of the 1, 2, 3, 5. How many of you were not in that workshop? If they love it, okay, stand up, please. So this is a good one to do with younger children when they're feeling a little bit intimidated about being in big church. And they're warming up, and they're like, in rehearsal, they've been great. They've been nailing. You can't wait for everybody to hear them on Sunday, and they're scared to death because they're in this giant room. So and I do it with my youth choir because, once again, as we have established, Sunday morning comes right for Saturday night. And man, I try to tell them, Friday is for partying, Saturday is for study and rest. They don't listen. So here's what you do. All right, we're going to shake this hand 5 times and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do this hand 5 times and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This foot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This foot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll shake this hand 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Count it nice and loud. Ready? Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Good. Yeah, simple. It's sometimes you can always see the room when the room needs a facelift, right? Like at, like 3:15 in the middle of a workshop. We're like, oh man, I'm about to lose them. And you want them to come back next week to practice so you can build on what you did this week. So you got to have those little brain breaks in there, and it lifts the room. Posture's better because they're just, and you're not saying, come on, I need you to stand tall. Oh, that just makes them feel like this. It never works. Here's another one. Have a seat. Let's do this. This is an oldie but goodie. This has a lot of benefits for posture. First of all, you can only do this well if you're sitting on the edge of your seat. And it's the old "My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean." Some of you know this. It's old school. We'll sing the song. How many of you know the song, "My Bonnie Lies Over"? So I'm going to teach it to you now. Suffice to say, every time you sing a word that begins with the letter B, stand up. The next time you sing a word that begins with the letter B, have a seat. Okay? Ready? And adults, pretend they don't like this, but they secretly love it because they always giggle when they're done. All right? The little kids go bonkers of it, and you cannot do it fast enough for them. And yeah, I can't keep up with them. Here we go. My body lies over the ocean. My body lies over the sea. My body lies over the ocean. So bring back my body to me. Bring back, oh bring back my body to me, Bring back, oh bring back my body to me. Good, and you can do it faster, as we did with it. If they love it, they'll learn it. You can use it as a way to teach Italian musical terms. Okay, now we're going to do it moderato. Okay, now we're going to do it allegro. And they'll do it presto and prestissimo. Oh, yeah, they will. But a lot that lifted the room. It's a great brain break. You know those pieces where it's just 5 minutes away from being just right, but you're looking at the kids and you know they only got 5 minutes left in them. Their tank is on empty. You need a brain break, something to wake them up, have fun, build them back up, but so you can get back and spend a few more minutes on that piece. And instead of, come on guys, stay with me, just 5 more minutes. Oh. But instead say, let's play a game. And they're ready, all right? Say, I want to play games. And see, once again, that's that positive. Admonishment never helps the flagging situation because it just takes the situation that's already on its way down and smushes it further. So what we have to do is find ways to build. Posture. I don't like overly rigid posture. I know it's an overachiever, so just relax. I like to have one foot slightly in front of the other. That's probably from years and years of going on choir tours with junior and senior highs. where we're getting very little sleep, very little protein, and watching kids pass out. Oh my God, I caught one time. I did. We were in Chicago, and this has never happened because I'm always either too far away from the choir, and we were doing a piece that had some movement. We're just doing a little simple step touch, and she was a good kid. I'm like, she's fun, she's energetic, and she was just zoning out. I'm like, and my first thing was like, what's the matter with you? And I'm like looking, and I'm like, she's going, she's going. And I'm like, her head this far from the front pew, and so we laid her down, and we had a doctor that was one of the chaperones on tour, and I'm like, come on, and so we just stopped the service right there, and laid her down, but I'll never have luck that good again. But anyway, what was talking about? Posture. But anyway, aside from my great catch, so I like to have one foot slightly in front of the other, and no more than shoulder width apart. Some kids like to overdo it. See, look how good my posture is. I'm so stable. No, not really. Just like that way, you're balanced in all directions. That way, if you got nudge, you're not going to trip in any direction. And posture is also look at the faces. The posture is also in the face. How are the faces? Are they vibrant, droopy? I don't like the artificial. That's kind of creepy. But just natural, but with some lightness to it. All right, a few odds and ends. And actually, these are big. They're kind of miscellaneous at the end. Don't fit a category, but they're incredibly important. And one of those is the way we do warm-ups. First of all, if you have rehearsal late in the day, don't spend so much time. I think you can't underestimate the warm-ups in the morning, like especially Sunday morning when you're just getting them there. But if it's Sunday afternoon or a Wednesday evening, they're warm. If anything, they're over-warm. Their voices, you don't want to, all that capital that you're blowing at the beginning of rehearsal going, that's energy they're not going to have at the end of rehearsal, right? So be careful there. Also, warm-ups. I think we do too much of that. What we really need to be doing is stuff that gets that head voice down. Alleluia, or anything that gets that head voice down, because if you're spending all your time doing all these things that start low and build high, you're teaching them to take weight and carry weight up, rather than to teach them to take that head voice quality and float it down. That doing this is a great cure for intonate, especially for flat. I'd like to do a lot of exercise like loo, loo, loo. Do that.
Loo, loo, loo.
How about the puppy dog? Now, moo, moo, moo.
Moo, moo,
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go moo, where it's going to go high, higher. So it's going moo, moo, moo. We're going to put a parachute on there. You want to see how far you can go? Ready, and
woo, woo, woo.
Breathe in. And then a nice warm sigh after that. Because that is a great exercise for focusing the sound. Did you notice during, like when there was an intonation thing, one of the first things I did is I go, no, and then sing your pitch. Because it opens you up in the back. It focuses the sound forward. It's a great way to kind of line everything back up again. But if you just do that all the time, you're going to get kids way up here. Everybody's going to be right up there. It's going to be real tense. So you have to do the balance. We talked about balance a couple of times. That kind of line. So there's relaxation. So there's focus and there's head voice quality, but it's also relaxed. So balancing those. I love doing those top-down exercises. You can't underestimate those enough. And once again, I hopefully have not said it too often. Positive, positive, positive. That is the number one thing that's going to help keep flatting at bay. You're still going to have some stuff, but the more you can, and this is not just a children's choir thing, it's not just a youth choir thing or adult choir thing, it's anytime you're working with people, right? Just period. Whether I'm teaching a Sunday school lesson or in a board meeting, that doesn't mean that you're loosey-goosey, everything's all Patch Adams and everybody's happy all the time. But, oh man, I'm telling you, it makes such a difference. It rallies people, it makes people want to do more, and we know that, but sometimes I think we can get so focused on and, you know, B flats and F sharps and 4/4 time, and got to get this in for the bulletin on Sunday, and detail. Positive. Our time's about over. I want to let you know, don't start running out. I'm about to do a signing at the Pine Lake area, but I don't want you to hurt each other running to get in line. It's going to be pitiful. But I just want to say I appreciate you being here. And then I'm going to be back here at 4 o'clock for the last session, which is one on worthy for worship, about the importance of children in worship as participants, as leaders, as and it's my great passion more than even flattering. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On those drumming books, did
Yeah.
you read that book where you did the Bible stories?
Yes.
Okay. If I have a son who's a youth minister, but he doesn't really read music, can he do that?
Oh, you're talking about the all hands in one?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there's a demonstration DVD
Uh-huh.
that's in the book, and you can get a ton from that.
Okay.
And the best part of it is that Brian Hain is the host of that. And you want to talk about a genuine guy? I mean, that's him. He is so nice and so talented. And when you put those two things together, it's just a great combo. So it's like it's like the Mr. Rogers of drumming. Just talking about, and now you're going to play the djembe rhythm, and it goes like this. And it's just awesome. Yeah, it's the best part of the whole resource. Yeah. Great, thank you. Yeah.